Welcome back to Oral's Digest. This week is the last KCSE, and it seems like this KCSE is going out in a bang because ever since the history of education, this is the first time the Kenyan government is throttling our internet service, in this case Telegram, to actually prevent cheating. There has been reports that there's massive leakage of KCSE exams, and that's happening on Telegram. And now, I tried using Telegram between the working hours, between 8 a.m. up to about 5. Telegram is not working, and a lot of reports are attributing that to KCSE. Now, KCSE has had a very long history with cheating, as you know.
Exam Council has cancelled the results of 441 cases of exam cheating in the 2021 Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education.
Week into the ongoing KCSE examinations, which are arguably the most closely monitored in the country's history, and several cases have emerged involving the use of mobile phones by candidates to gain unfair advantage in the exam room.
In Matiang'i High School in Nakuru County, the invigilators were not taking any chances.
If you look at the very first KCSE, this was in 1989 when the KCSE was introduced. I just read an article by Omanga that the first KCSE, only 3 people got an A. Right? And then over the years, the number of students getting A has been increasing. Now, I decided, perhaps it's very good to look at this, for a very long time to see whether this makes sense. So definitely we've been having more students over the years. So if you look at this particular chart, this is from the past 10 years, now from 2013 up to now 2022. This is called a heat map. And when you look at it, it means that there is an even distribution until you get to 2016. Now, perhaps this map is confusing. Let's look at this map in a different way. Let's take each year and look at the grade distribution from A up to E. Then you realize from 2013 to 2015, you tend to have, sort of like an even distribution, or not really even, but a good distribution. But then after 2016, the number of people who got E's and D's just skyrocketed. Now, this is the time that Fred Matiang'i became the Minister of Education, taking over from Kaimenyi.
Design mechanisms of continuing to confront the challenges that we face and take advantage of the opportunities that we have in the education sector in the country.
He introduced certain changes. I think he changed how exams were being transported. He fired a couple of people from NEC. He also changed how schools, who's responsible for the exams in the schools. And the result was immediate. Bang! The number of C's, D's, E's, the lower grades just went up. And this really, got a lot of people agitated and went crazy about it. Now, to me, I ask myself, who was really cheating? If the exams before that were not honest, then who was really cheating? Now, okay, the best way of looking at this is to take the same period, which is 10 years, about 10 years, to look at what was the average school, what was the grade for the school, which is maximum of 12 max, and how much the school got over time. So when I started looking for this data, I was going through the websites for the schools. I was like, okay, I'm missing some information. I can't track any school from 2013 up to 2022 because most schools, or at least the national schools, very proud to report those numbers. Then one of the first funny thing I found was on Strathmore Academy. So I was looking at, from 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017, and recording them in this nice spreadsheet. Then when it got to 2016, the data wasn't there. Then I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is wrong. Then when I read so every year they congratulate a class and you can see everyone in that class, and then they have the grades for each subjects and the average grade for the school. Then for that particular year, 2016, they wrote that, okay, this is the first time honest exams happen. We'd like to thank the minister for education and and then nothing. And I'm like, are they not proud putting their marks in there? Are they not proud of the kids who start exams for that year? or there's something sinister. I don't know. Then I was like, okay, let me forget that. Let me go to the next school. So the next school in my list that was a top school was Moy High School, Kabarak. So when I look Moy High School, Kabarak, now let me start from 2013 because I think they were number 2 in 2013. 2014, they were almost like top 5. So I was getting that data. Then I get to 2016, can't find the data. If I Google, Moy High School, Kabarak has sued Kenek because they want a remark of their exams because they don't believe the marks they were given were actually what they got, which was quite lower than expected. Now I'm like, okay, I have incomplete data, but I need to make some inference on, what are the general patterns. And one of the things you'd realize are like schools like Kenya High were sort of like out of the top 10 league. When the 2016 exams happened, then they came into the top 10. And then you have these smaller schools, which I think right now they are either county schools or I don't know what's below county schools. So I think you have national schools, then you have extra county schools, then you have county schools for that. And then like one of them called Kokuro, I think from Migori County, came, I think it was number 2 or 3 thereabout, and then disappeared again. So you have these schools that come in, then disappear. Then you have schools that were reigning, that after 2016 sort of like went down, and then there's schools that tend to maintain that, like Alliance Girls. Now it's very hard to tell, all the dynamics that happen that lead to a grade dropping or going up. Someone could argue that year we got horrible students, or good teachers were moved to other schools, or perhaps something else happened within the school. Perhaps there was a teacher's strike during that year. So it's not really conclusive. But then it brought back some interesting story that I read in 2020, I believe. So during that year when COVID was raving all over the world, the examination body in the UK decided students cannot sit their exams for their O levels, for them to proceed to A level, and then there's the A level that proceeds to university. So because they couldn't sit their exams, and for the A levels, they needed to be transitioned to university level. So they decided, like, you know what? We're going to create a formula. That formula is that we're going to take your previous years of exams that you've done in your school, that the teachers have graded, your own teachers, and then we're going to give each school some weight to that, and then we're going to predict which grade you're most likely to get if you actually sat for the exam. And they created the formula, and they assigned everyone a grade, and then they decided who's going to university. And after that, there was a hula baloo. People were like, no.
I'm now not going to Durham, which was my dream uni, and I'm not doing the course I wanted to do because of this. And I know that I would have been able to get in if I had done those exams.
And at this East London school, Ofqual has downgraded 47% of their teachers' predicted grades, as the students are about to discover.
There was a lot of uproar, and they decided, okay, we're going to relook this. So when they broke down the formula, it was such that they were giving schools weight based on the type of school, the way we have a national school, an extra county school, and a county school. And in essence, what they're saying is that if you were to go to a national school, we expect you to get this. If you go to an extra county school, we expect you to get this. It's sort of what we call bias, right? We expect someone's performance based on the school they go to. There's some truth to that, right? In the Kenyan context, someone could argue, maybe those schools have money, right? To buy exams, buy invigilators, or anything else. So grading a student by that level would be wrong. Then I got into a conversation with someone about this. Then I asked the question, so if I look at KCSE exams in Kenya, this 10-year period and this drop that was there in 2016, what can we infer? Then to me, I created a hypothesis, which was, I think the average student was pushed much into the E's and D's, okay? And then the A's and B's were slightly moved into the C region for that. So I said, you know what? No, what happened to the people who used to get D's? Then probably they've gone into the E region. So does it mean that if you're a D student, for example, and you're given a leakage, can you get an A? Then we started debating. I said no. I don't think a D student, given a leakage, would get an A. And then you're like, okay, because I think they're the ones who, because we need to explain this massive E's and D's here, right? So I think they were the C's right there that were pushed way much lower. But an average kid who's like C+ and above can get a leakage and get pushed into an A. But then we're like, perhaps those kids who already get D's are in these schools that are not well provisioned for that. So if you create a formula, or formula in this case, we're representing the leakage, is that student who has gone for 4 years with lack of facilities and all that, by the time you're giving him exams, he's already lacking so many things for that. It's not that they can't pass or they're dumb. It's not that. It's just that they're not prepared for it. But someone who's above average in a good school, has good nutrition, good labs, can easily take advantage of a leakage and get an A, right? So I was like, okay, now let me reverse the experiment on myself. Now, luckily enough, in my own dusty shelves, I found my high school report cards that I kept for years. So I was like, okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to predict my grade, assume that I would get my whole Form 1 to Form 4 results, get an average, right? And in this case, we use a weighted average where the Form 3 and Form 4 grades get higher weights and the Form 1 and Form 2 get lower weights, just because those years tend to matter a lot, and that's a good portion of where KCSE comes over there. Then these are my KCSE papers. Then I looked at this as a distribution just to get what was my average for each of these subject. Then got in a prediction, which was the weighted average, and then compared it with my KCSE outcome. Now, I was quite surprised because it was close, very close. And if it was just using my grades to predict my KCSE, I think it would have been very close using the average method, the weighted average method. But then again, if it was added to the type of school I went to, during that time it was a provincial school. Now I think that is an extra county school. Maybe I could have been knocked a little bit down if that was a consideration for that. Then I was like, okay, now how about for all these complaints that are there about cheating and not cheating, present Form 1 to Form 4 results for all these kids. And nowadays, schools use systems to record all this. It's not like a pen and paper like back in the day. Let's just get the average and see how far they are from the average. I don't know whether schools would do that, but that would be a very good step. You know, back again to the assumption that those exams are standardized to the level of that. And of course, Form 1 is a bit easier, Form 2 gets a little tougher, Form 3, use all that to create a nice weighted average formula for that. Then we would answer the question exactly, who was cheating? Because I don't believe you can move from an average of C+ into an A without some influence now. And now the government has brought in its intervention. Now, something else that is interesting is that if you plot the grades again, now I decided to do, let's take the top grades, A, B, up to B+, which is what most people used to go to university with. Now it's been moved back to C+, where it was so many years back. Then you realize Matiang'i was a CS from 2016 up to 2018, education CS. And then after that, he moved to the interior security docket. Then after he left, the number of A's and B's started climbing up again. It's like during his time, then this is a type of an experiment where you know the intervention worked, and immediately that intervention was taken away, went back to perhaps inflated grades. So who was cheating? We can't tell 100%, but I love this quote by Richard Feynman, one of the most prominent physicists. And he said, the reason why students cheat is because we value their grades more than their learning. So that's it for this week. Until next time, subscribe. Any Buddha, after kuachiva always subscribe. Apa. But just subscribe. Hey, and I have more videos here.